because everyone else was, doing their classes and things like that, but I wasn't, and I felt like, man, I wish I was doing something like to fill my time. So I decided to make music. I made a lot of covers to songs, and made music videos to those songs, and I had so much fun. Those brought me so much joy in a time when I was feeling really low and recovering from probably one of the worst mental breakdowns, the worst manic episodes I've ever experienced in my life.
Give me a reason to believe in a future, a moment, new memories without you.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tyra Hughes, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about going on medical leave and taking a gap semester from NYU. So I wanted to tell you guys more about my experience on medical leave from NYU, because I know that going to a school like NYU is not easy. It's very stressful, and for me, my first year was very, very depressing. Because I was depressed and very sad and very lonely all the time. And I don't think a lot of people talk about just how much loneliness affects mental health. So since we're in the age of really honoring our body, really honoring our mental health, and making time and prioritizing mental health, I figured it would be very timely and helpful to others to talk about my experience taking a medical leave from NYU, specifically for my mental health experiences that I was going through. So I think the very first thing that I realized on medical leave was how bored I was. So definitely be prepared to be bored at first, because you're seriously not going to be used to all the free time that you have, as opposed to being at school and being very go with classes, extracurriculars, all that. I'm a go-getter, so I'm very used to a fast-paced life. When I went into medical leave on my gap semester, no longer taking any classes or going to clubs or things like that, and being around college people, I was very bored, and I was very unsettled by the amount of free time that I had on my hands. And since I wasn't really in the physical or mental good space to work, my meds made me very tired all the time, very lethargic, so I couldn't get a job either. I really was stuck at home, and it, not even to sound like that, I was at home and not at school, and that was a really big adjustment for me, because I was used to having things to do. All of a sudden now I don't have anything to do, so I had to fill my time with activities that were worthwhile. And at my therapy, they definitely encouraged a lot of mindfulness, so I spent some time doing yoga. And it's funny, you would think, oh my gosh, you have all this time to catch up on TV or like YouTube, but I had no interest in doing any of those things, because I didn't have the attention span to sit down and watch TV. Like, that's how bad it became. So I didn't watch any TV, I didn't watch any YouTube. I literally was in my house listening to music, which became my coping mechanism, making music videos. Like, that's what I did to fill my time, because I didn't have the attention span to watch TV, to watch a movie. I just didn't. My meds made me very, very restless, so I couldn't sit and do nothing at the TV screen. Like, that just made me feel like I was losing my mind. Yeah, I mean, if you're familiar with my musical theater YouTube channel, Ty's Take Unfiltered, you'll know that I posted a lot on that channel during my medical leave, especially during September and October, because that's when I was the most bored. Because everyone else was, doing their classes and things like that, but I wasn't, and I felt like, man, I wish I was doing something like to fill my time. So I decided to make music. I made a lot of covers to songs, and made music videos to those songs, and I had so much fun. I literally made a Jealousy music video. I made for the first time in forever music video. I made a Bohemian Rhapsody music video. Like, those brought me so much joy in a time when I was feeling really low and recovering from probably one of the worst mental breakdowns, the worst manic episodes I've ever experienced in my life. So the second thing I've really reflected on is the fact that since I was in therapy, and for the most part, if you're going on medical leave for mental health, you're supposed to be in therapy to report back to NYU. In therapy, I learned so much about myself. I released a lot of trauma. I was able to be around people who shared similar trauma as me, and that really helped me because it made me feel less alone. It made me feel less alienated in my experiences as someone who's been through a lot of trauma. And it made me kind of connect with my inner child as well. Like at therapy, we did a lot of different exercises like writing, creative therapy, writing, doing art therapy, DBT skills, CBT skills, all of that. And through those skills, I was able to really reflect on the part of me who has been through a lot, who has been taken advantage of, who has been victimized, okay? And I think I allowed myself to be a victim and really feel the feelings of being a victim of sexual assault. And in doing that, it made me feel empowered. So I think the amount of self-power and self-reflection that comes with going on medical leave specifically for your mental health, especially if you're in therapy, is very monumental, and it's life-changing. It was life-changing for me. Because I looked at myself in a way that I never have, and I looked at my inner child in a way that I never have, because I had the tools to reflect on it. Yeah, so after I came out of the hospital, that was what I did. That essentially replaced school. So for 8 weeks, I did an intensive outpatient group therapy program where we practiced CBT and DBT skills, learning about ourselves and reflecting about our trauma, what brought us there. So I was with people who have similar diagnoses as me, people who could understand the mental space that I was in. It's very interesting. I noticed that a lot of us in the group therapy program were in the program because of September. Things that happened before September, of course, but also just September in general. And in September, if you can remember, there was the Mercury retrograde, a full moon at the same time. And during full moons, things are illuminated. Emotions that you have not healed from, they're illuminated. Like trauma was attached to a full moon and a Mercury retrograde, and that we were all there at the same time. I think I met the most aligned people in my life at group therapy. We were all very empathetic and very, like, empaths, literally. And I think the most emotionally intelligent people are empaths, are people who feel things deeply and are caring and gracious and compassionate to others. A lot of people who have been through a lot of trauma, who are just very emotionally intelligent, just happen to be empaths. And I think that was really cool that I learned from my group therapy, at least. It was a very awesome amount and group of people that I was learning about myself with. That leads me into the second thing. Doing therapy is hard work. So it may seem like you're not doing enough because you're only in therapy and you're not in school, but the amount of work that therapy requires, that's like a second job, because you're forced to look at yourself, you're forced to study yourself, you're forced to release and let go and be open to advice and be open to other people's but their words on your life. Like, it's a lot of work. And I've had to take moments and commend myself for going to therapy and commend myself for doing the work, because in times when I felt very restless and very bored of this quiet, non-school related, fully hermit mode lifestyle, I totally forgot that I was also in super intense therapy, learning about myself and reflecting about myself, which isn't always a fun experience. So I totally forgot to just give myself the grace of, yeah, you may be bored right now, but at least you're in therapy. That's work within itself. So another thing about taking a gap semester, about staying home on a gap semester for medical leave, I think what really helped me was really tapping into my inner child. Now, this is something that came with therapy, but also something I started doing during the summer, actually, just tapping into my inner child, because I just simply had the time to tap back into them. Like, I had the time and the courage to tap back into my inner child. And it originally just started with me singing again, singing Broadway songs during the summertime. But I really tapped into my inner child during my medical leave by making music, by writing music and making music from beats on YouTube. That was really awesome for me, because I used to make music. I used to record like covers of songs on GarageBand and then listen to them like with my headphones when like on my iPod when I was younger, and then I just stopped doing it for some reason. And I think the privilege of not being in school, of not taking classes, is that you have kind of like a break from the real world. You have a break from like an adult life where you get to just like do therapy and tap into new hobbies or tap into old hobbies. I felt like that was the best time for me to tap into the hobbies of mine that I had left behind, that I had forgotten about, that I had repressed for years due to social anxiety. I did it again, and it made me feel so alive. So another thing that I learned is definitely that routine is everything, because I essentially lost my sense of routine that I had at school. So I had to recreate my routine. And this is actually something that my therapist had helped me out with, because I really wasn't sleeping through the night. I had a lot of like nightmares and things like that. So I wasn't sleeping at night, and I just wasn't getting a good night's sleep. So what had helped me out is having a good routine at night, where I could like limit time on my phone, limit time on like the screen, and kind of like just try to relax and have a relaxing night routine. And then in the morning, having a routine that was grounded in gratitude and mindfulness. So those two things, making that change to my schedule, really helped me to cultivate better sleep and just have a better day in general. So the next thing is definitely what I learned in terms of silence and hermit mode. I realized that not everyone is going to resonate with the stories and with the content and with the messages that I put out during this time of my life, because not everyone is in a moment of hermit mode. Not everyone will relate to the things that I'm learning about myself. And that was something like a hard to swallow pill that I had to swallow because I wanted people to resonate with what I put out, but some people just didn't. And I guess I had to realize how not important Instagram is because my life wasn't matching up with what I was seeing on Instagram. And I don't know, it's just something kind of like weird about it, just not feeling like you're resonating on a totally not real digital world. Like, weird. And on the other end of silence, on being on the receiving end of silence, I think during a time when you're prioritizing your mental health, that can feel really alienating. For me, I think I've lost some friends due to my mental breakdown and due to being manic and due to my experience with mental health. And that was a really hard to swallow pill for me as well. It hurt a lot, but it's just something that I had to undergo and learn, I guess, that not everyone has the capacity to be there for you in a mental health crisis, because we don't generally learn how to do that as people. So that leads me into my next point. I feel like a gap semester, a medical leave for mental health, is the perfect time to tune out the social media world, because your world simply doesn't match theirs. It's a different experience being on a gap semester, not being in classes when everyone else is. Thinking about like mental health and slowing down when everyone else is go, go, go. It's gonna feel alienating, and that's how it felt when I was on Instagram, like every day when I was scrolling through TikTok and things like that. I specifically say Instagram as the one to kind of tune out, because I feel like TikTok for me was actually really helpful during my medical leave, because I was able to have a platform where I spoke about my experiences and people resonated with that more than Instagram for some reason. I don't know why. But yeah, to avoid FOMO, I definitely took some time away from Instagram. And also when people weren't resonating with the art that I was putting out, I put it out anyway, because it was an expression of me, and I hold my art as a way to express myself. So I posted it anyway, but I do feel like I would have benefited from not posting at all, just because, I don't need to share everything about my life, but I like to be open, and I like to be honest, and I like to be real, and not everyone can handle that. So kind of veering away from the social media aspect of going on medical leave for mental health, I think this has definitely afforded me opportunities to make time for things that I didn't have time for before. or I didn't make time for it. So I didn't used to make time for exercising, but I did that with medical leave. With time, I got less lethargic from my medication, and I was actually able to go to the gym and be active in a way more than just doing like walks, because that's what I used to do. In September and October, I was very, very like tired because of my medication. So I couldn't do intensive workouts, so all I did was walk, and that's the exercise that I did. But as I got my dosage lowered, I was able to do more exercise at the gym with my parents, which was awesome, and do yoga through YouTube videos. So those became my ways of staying active, and I actually created a New Year's resolution to do more yoga this year, and to be just more in tune physically and exercise-wise. So, medical leave definitely taught me how to lean on people, how to not do things alone, because I'm very used to being hyper independent, doing things on my own, and not really needing help or encouragement to do my best or to do what I do. I'm just used to doing it on my own. So when I broke down and essentially needed my tribe of a family to kind of lift me up, that's what helped me lean on my family for help, because although I am independent and I'm able to do things on my own, in that period I needed the support of my family to boost me up and to really just be there for me. And it wasn't an easy time. It was hard for everybody, but I think it was especially just different for me to adjust to that, adjust to leaning on people for help and support. Definitely a trauma response for me to be hyper independent, and that's something that I think this medical leave has helped me kind of break out of. And what was awesome is that I had a really awesome support system. My friends were they were there for me when they could have like not been there for me. Although I did lose some friends, I definitely did have friends who stuck with me despite the struggles that I've been through. And I actually had 2 friends who were also on medical leave for their mental health, so I didn't really feel too alone in the process of being on medical leave, because I had 2 people who resonated with that experience. So those were the friends who I could count on to talk me through anxiety attacks, or talk me through anxious thoughts I was having, or talk me through things. Those were the family members that I could count on to give me advice when I was willing to hear it, to kind of help me look at things from a different perspective, to the people who literally called me when I was in the hospital every single day. Like, those were the people that I could count on and know that I could trust to support me during a really tough time. So I think the most telling things of being on medical leave, of being in a mental health crisis and taking time away from school because of it, is the people who are there for you versus the people who are gonna learn how to be there for you, and learn how to be there for you as you learn to be there for yourself. Overall, I would say doing a medical leave for mental health is so worth it. Despite the restlessness that I experienced, despite the boredom that I experienced, despite the just unsettling feeling I had with not having anything to do besides making music and listening to music and going to therapy and reflecting about myself and things like that, I definitely think that it was worth it, because I learned so much about myself, number 1. And number 2, I got the necessary break that I needed. That I was working so hard without a break, and I needed a break. So I literally broke, like breakdown. And then I was able to break through with therapy. And now I think I simply had the break I needed. And I think it's definitely worth it, because all of the habits, the new habits that I implemented, the new source of routine that I had, exercising more, singing more, creating songs more, I think that change was necessary. It was kind of like I took a pause from the outside world and took a pause from my regular way of doing things to do things in a totally different way. And I think because of that, I am now stepping into my spring 2023 semester of school, my first semester as a sophomore, you know, with a renewed mindset of living. And I feel really grateful for that. So that is all that I had for today's video. I want to thank you guys so much for listening and, you know, sticking around for the video. If you would like to learn more about me, you can definitely follow me on Instagram and Twitter. And I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!
Don't waste our love away.